Good evening. My name is Rachel Shrewsbury, Chairperson of the Shrewsbury School Committee. Welcome to our meeting for Wednesday, June 3rd. Tonight's meeting is being broadcast live on Selco channels 29 and 329 and streamed live on Shrewsbury Media Connection's website. Thank you to Liz Popolowski and Shrewsbury Media Connection for their assistance with our broadcast this evening. Tonight's meeting will be rebroadcast on SMC's website and their YouTube channel between now and our next scheduled meeting. The first item on the agenda is public participation. Tonight, we have not received any requests to speak at public participation. Public participation is available to all residents who would like to address the committee regarding concerns on policy, budget, and the performance of the superintendent. In the future, if anyone would like to speak at public participation, they can contact the chair in advance of the next meeting. The next item on the agenda is chairperson and members report. Colleagues, anything to share this week? No? Okay. I am actually going to take this opportunity to say it is an incredibly busy time right now at the end of the school year, and that's coming up very quickly. But I want to thank everyone who had a hand in making the last few weeks so special for our 2026 graduates. Between all of our senior events, between prom, dinners, picnics, commemoration, graduation, so many people had a hand in making that time memorable. So I want to thank Dr. Sawyer, Mr. Bizidlo, Mr. O'Connell, the 2026 class advisors, Ms. Blazioli, Ms. Heald, Mr. Laparmardo, and Ms. Noel, countless of teachers, staff, parents, families. For us, this is a really fun time, and it's a special time, and it really pales in comparison to what it means for students and families. So I just want to thank everybody that really made the last few weeks that much more special for our seniors. Anybody else? No? All right. The next item on the agenda is superintendent's report. Dr. Sawyer?
I am just going to echo what you said, Ms. Sharif-Kapoor. I want to thank everyone involved with Shrewsbury High School for some really extraordinary events that were done in just a really first-class way. In the notification for the meeting, that went out a little later than usual, just went out a little while ago. For tonight, there are links to thanks to our partners at Shrewsbury Media Connection and Greg Marceau, our audiovisual technician. In particular, we have links to the graduation ceremony itself, the commemoration ceremony, and the what's becoming a new tradition, which is a gratitude video that they film at the senior faculty banquet the night before graduation, where students can give shout outs to people. Those are all linked there in an email people just received, and that'll be on our website as well. But I'm really proud of the way that we conduct these ceremonies. I think it really is special for our graduates, and of course, in particular, I want to congratulate the members of the class of 2026 for their successes in successfully completing their course of studies, and thank everyone from preschool, elementary school, middle school, and all the way through high school who supported our students along the way, and of course thank their families for their support, and our community for providing the resources that enabled us to provide them with such a wonderful education. So it's really a time of year for us to be proud in our community of our graduates. So congratulations to them, and that is Superintendent's report this evening.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Sawyer. All right, the first time scheduled appointment for tonight is an acceptance of gifts to the RISE program. Per school committee policy 911, gifts of $5,000 or more must be formally accepted by the school committee. So we actually have two gifts for tonight. The first is Emily Anderson, Shrewsbury Public Schools parent and a Shrewsbury High School graduate, raised $23,885 for the RISE program while successfully training for and completing the Boston Marathon on April 20th. Emily has served on the RISE Capital Campaign Committee for the past 3 years. I also know Emily from her time as a Spring Street PTO president. So we have Emily here with us tonight, also with Dr. Lizotte and Ms. Belzito.
Awesome.
I'm going to turn it over to you.
So thank you so much for having us tonight. And we started back in September of 2023. We reached out to Emily to see if she'd be interested in joining our fundraising committee for RISE in Maple and Maine. Without a second thought, she jumped right into our small but mighty group, a team that's raised over $100,000 for both the program and our retail store. During one of our meetings this past year, Emily mentioned she had previously run the Boston Marathon for the Down Syndrome Foundation and generously offered to run and raise funds for RISE. Thanks to a bib provided by Joanne Flaminio, the former president of the BAA, Emily turned that offer into incredible action, raising over $23,000 to support our program. And she didn't just raise the money, she crushed the course, crossing the finish line with an incredible time of 3 hours and 21 minutes. Tonight we have Brandon and Jenny from our program here to present Emily with a special thank you gift, beautifully designed and created by Jen, our retail manager, Christine, the coordinator, and the students at Maple and Maine. And we're forever grateful to Emily for all that she does for our community.
Thank you very much.
So with that,
Do you want to turn that around so that
Yes.
the camera gets Oh, that's so nice. Amazing.
That's great. And I will add, I think this is one of the most challenging of winters to have trained for a marathon. And we would see Emily out there in negative, below zero temps and ice and snow and doing it. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. I'm so proud of everyone. And honestly, I feel like I had the easy job of running. I love to run, so it was just, something I would have been doing anyways. You really are the ones, Jen and Christine, that make this program what it is. So you guys are the ones that really deserve this recognition.
thank you.
Did anybody want to?
Yep. Tara.
I just want to congratulate you. Thank you so much for putting in this work to support RISE. It's just such a testament to your love for the program, and we just want to express our thanks on behalf of the school committee. Just all of this money that you help put towards the programming is money that we don't need to find in our budget to help support the program. So it's just we're very appreciative. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll echo what she says. I don't know how you found time to do all that training between the kids and everything else that you do, but we are very appreciative of what you did for the community and you continue to do for the community. So thank you on behalf of everybody here.
I want to add my congratulations and thanks. And I know we have in the audience Emily's mom, Martha Kinback, who's a retired educator from Spring Street School, and her daughter Andy, who is one of our students at Spring Street. We're glad they're here supporting. We're really proud of our RISE program, and to be able to have these funds to be able to fill in a gap of some federal funding we were going to have and we're counting on, and then disappeared at the start of the year. So we weren't going to be able to rely on that. That was really meaningful for us to be able to have this unexpected opportunity to get this very extremely generous gift. And so again, our community has supported RISE extremely well. It's a wonderful program that's become part of the heart of our community right in the center of town. And so we are really proud of our students and having able to, again, continue to raise funds to be able to provide the kinds of services that we want for them to help them with their development. So I couldn't be more proud and really pleased and grateful. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to add, it's Andy's 10th birthday today. She
Really?
Happy birthday, Andy.
And they're off to baseball.
All right. So do you want to take this vote first, and then we can talk about the other gift?
Yep. Okay. All right, so we'll need two different votes tonight. So I need a motion that the committee vote to accept a gift of $23,885 from Emily Anderson to the RISE program.
So moved. Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please do so by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, perfect, and the motion carries. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then.
How about one more round of applause?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then we actually have another donation to the RISE program tonight. So this is from the family of Gotham Subramanian, who just graduated from the RISE program. The family has generously donated $7,500 in gratitude for the program.
So the Super Mahian family, who made this generous donation of $7,500 at their son's graduation from RISE last Friday, was incredible. During his time with us, Gotham thrived, taking on multiple internships across our community and participating in partnerships at both Worcester State and Quinsigamond Community College. He's going to be missed very much. If you haven't had the pleasure of meeting Gotham, he has a rare gift of making absolutely everyone feel welcome. He brings a smile that brightens any room, boasts superior math skills, and has truly become a role model for his peers. The Subramanian family has held a special place in our hearts of every single team across Shrewsbury Public Schools over the years, and we're so thankful for their unwavering support and partnership. We cannot wait to hear how Gotham does with his classes at Quinsigamond Community College and his program at Thrive. To the Subramanian family, thank you so much for this wonderful gift.
All right, on behalf of the school committee, I want to thank again for this donation because RISE is a very special part of the Shrewsbury Public Schools, so everything goes a very far away. So thank you for the donation. Dr. Sawyer?
Gotham is an extraordinary young man, and it's been really a joy to see him grow up in our schools and to be able to be part of the program. I actually, at an earlier leadership meeting today, we started the meeting with a conversation about something you were particularly proud of or made you smile this year. And I was reflecting with my conversation partner on the fact that I've had the opportunity to attend several graduations at RISE, as we've had a number of students this spring who have turned age 22 and are moving on from the program. And it is really, these are such wonderful events. The students are so supportive of one another. Our students here have made remarks about their friends. Usually a few students speak. The students themselves will say a few words. I present them with their diploma or certificate, and their families are just super proud. And then there's a little party afterwards, and it's just, it's one of the most joyful places anywhere. So again, Gotham is really an extraordinary student, and we're incredibly grateful to his family for this very, very generous donation that will help us continue to make this program thrive. So thank you to them.
Okay, so I will need another motion that the committee vote to accept a gift of $7,500 from the Subramanian family to the RISE program.
So moved. Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next time scheduled item on our agenda is a school nursing report. Periodically, the school committee receives updates on nursing services provided within our schools. A full report including information on nurse visits, emergency preparedness and response, mandated screenings, and staffing was included in our packets this week. Ms. Kate Perry, our Director of School Nursing, joins us here tonight. I believe this might be her first school committee meeting since joining the district. Welcome, Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. I really appreciate you inviting me here today to speak this evening and really for the opportunity to highlight the incredible work of our nursing team, some of who are in the audience tonight. So we have 17 school nurses, that includes myself, one administrative assistant, and 6 sub-nurses currently on the roster, and also Dr. Timothy Gibson, who is our school health physician. Our nursing,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Kate. It won't.
Let me see if I can get mine.
A password.
I think I can get mine to project from mine. Here we go. Just give it a moment to load here.
It's always the way. You should have seen my first presentation. I think it shut off.
I'm
like
glad
3
I'm not the
times,
one
so-
trying to fix it, yeah.
Here we go.
Perfect, okay. So I want to highlight the experience of our school nurses. They bring a combined 356 years of nursing experience to the school with experiences across diverse specialties, including but not limited to mental health, intensive care units, emergency rooms, both inpatient and outpatient pediatric care, medical and surgical nursing. And additionally, I added up the years of service to the schools, whether it was solely in Shrewsbury or in another school district, and they have over 100 years of combined school nurse experience, which I think it just speaks volumes to the expertise of our staff, which enables us to provide that high quality care that we're providing to our students and supporting the students in the school committee, school community. This,
Next.
There we go.
so this diagram illustrates the numbers and types of visits to the health office that I pulled from our electronic health record, which is SNAP, on May 12th. As you can see, the majority of visits are related to chronic and acute illnesses, so chronic illnesses such as like diabetes and asthma, acute illnesses anywhere from sore throats, headaches, strep throat. So that's the majority of the visits that our nurses see. And then it's followed by the other health and management. The management really encompasses the amount of communications and collaborations that the school nurses have with school staff, other school nurses, students, families, our community partners. And it really helps them facilitate a comprehensive integrated health plan to support our students' medical needs and social emotional needs in the school. The other category is kind of a broader category that encompasses a wide variety of encounters that aren't really, they don't fall under the illness category or the injury category. So those are things like maybe dental, they come in lost tooth, rashes, things like that that just don't fall under the other two categories. You know, especially during this time of year with the pollen flying around the air, lots of itchy eyes and runny noses. And then we have our injury encounters, and those, they don't specify, it's both for in-school injuries and out-of-school injuries. So lots of times kids will come, whether they fell coming into the school or the night before at a sporting event, they come in and they seek the nurse to attend to those injuries. And then we have our behavioral health and mental health visits, and they remain relatively steady from the year before. They increased a little bit, but I still don't think it really is a true representation of the mental health needs of our students. I think it's the data that we put into our computer that doesn't really pull it out. So students may come in and they complain of a headache or abdominal pain, and when the nurse, you know, puts it in the computer as such, and then as the nurse assesses the students and they really get to delve into what's really going on, they tend to uncover that maybe it's something more than that, and you know, social, emotional, or mental health issue. So that goes into also our management, because our nurses will then reach out to the to the mental health specialists in our schools and get them seen by them as well, so they're supported. And then this slide really just goes into breaking down the data of the total student encounters by category, and it really highlights the number of unscheduled visits. So this number is pretty high, right? And these are all the unexpected visits that come in, the kids who are coming in, and they can come in from anything from a scraped knee or very happy to have lost a tooth in the elementary school to something that's more life-threatening and requires emergent care. And then I'm going to talk about the screenings and the medications and treatments. I don't really talk about more in the slides, but that's a pretty high number of the amount of students that they have provided administered medications and treatments to up until May 12th of this year. So when I had the grand total of that encounters, it was over 77,000. So I put this visual, it was actually Linda Barard's idea to put a school bus visual on there, which was very thankfully using AI, I was able to do it, but so it would take over 1,000 buses, well over 1,000 buses for the amount of encounters that we see for over 77,000. And then our mandated screenings, this takes a lot of time and collaboration for the nurses to schedule. They work well with the school administrative staff and teachers to figure out the best time to do these screenings, so it's the least disruptive to the the students' learning. So they've screened over 6,000, almost 7,000 students, and they've had to send referrals out for 680. And what that means is when they screened a student for either vision, hearing, or postural, and the student was unsuccessful in the screening, the nurses will send a very detailed referral letter home to parents so they know to follow up with a primary care provider and seek maybe further evaluation or even treatment. And then one of our champions here, Lisa Smith, is in the audience. She and Noelle Freeman have been providing CPR and AED training since 2015, and they have certified over 405 staff members, and that also includes the central office employees, and they had a record high year this year certifying 82 staff members. So kudos to them. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the need for that. Did I skip over one? Nope. And then here is a busy slide, but AI could not help me with it. So this is me putting up a collage. But I think this is really a good picture of what our nurses do that's really outside their traditional role. Brenda, also in the audience here, is in the top left, and she was able to take our very famous Shrewsbury Police Department dog, Blue, the comfort dog, when she realized that she and other providers in the school realized what a good job and opportunity they would have if they could get Blue into the classrooms. And Brenda had a couple of students who had a lot of anxiety about medical treatment, seeing the nurse. One student in particular couldn't even walk by the nursing office without becoming very anxious and tearful. So Brenda was like, I'll go right into the classroom, went into the classroom with Blue and took Blue's temperature, listened with a stethoscope, and now that student has no anxiety passing the school office and actually can come in comfortably and be seen by the school nurse. So I really think that this picture also highlights, we also have, everybody's here. We have our school nurses from Beale who I think, Ann, you are, both of you, or just Ann, for Girls on the Run, so she does that. And then the other picture up there are some of the elementary schools and middle schools, and what these are, they represent the bulletin boards either in the school nurse's office or right outside the office, and they put really great interactive educational materials on those bulletin boards that are age appropriate for the students to provide health education throughout the school year. So they're updated, I don't want to say, they're updated, some are monthly, some are seasonally, but they do go ahead and provide lots of educational, and there were so many more, I just couldn't figure out how to get them all onto that slide. And then, so looking ahead. So I really first would like to say thank you for supporting the increasingly complex social, emotional, and medical needs at Sherwood and increasing the 1.8 FTE to a 2 FTE. I think it is very necessary. I think that's a great testament of this the school community and the community as a whole of the support that we have in our for nursing. And then secondly, in the alignment with the DPH, the nurse to student ratio guidelines, we had a 0.5 FTE over at Floral School. Their numbers are kind of down, and they're not really constituting having that 0.5 at this time, and as well as the acuity. So we can't just go on the number. We have to also look at the students' medical and social emotional needs in the schools. And it seemed to be a much better use of the position to make it a district-wide float position. So that way that position will go out to meet the needs of all the schools in the district when there's need for it. And knowing that Florals had that position, you know, I will also be very cognizant of if there's not a need somewhere else, that we would be able to keep that support at Floral as well. And then lastly, with the record high numbers of the staff that were CPI certified, I believe that emergency preparedness is very critical, and every second counts. And I think increasing the amount of providers that we have in our nursing department, I brought it up in one of our department meetings, and we had several nurses who would like to become certified instructors. I think that would be a great way to reach more of the staff here in the school system and get more staff certified and ready to be first line for an emergency. So in conclusion, I would like to say thank you for everything and all of your support. And as I wrap up my first year in this district, I want to thank our amazing nursing staff, Dr. Sawyer, Meg Belcedo, my mentor, Noelle Freeman, who's she's on speed dial, and always willing to pick up the phone, text back, or come in for a meeting, and for the school committee for your support for the nursing department. I would also like to recognize Linda Barad, who is retiring. She was unable to make it tonight, but she's dedicated her career for over 12 years here in the Shrewsbury Public Schools. She is so dedicated. She has a great sense of humor. She has a calming way about her. She is going to be gravely missed in this school district. So thank you for everything. If you have any questions.
Alex, any questions? Ms. Boucher?
Just want to welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for the report, and thank you so much to all of your staff, all the nurses that work with you, and all the hard work. I mean, seeing over 77,000 different, individual touches by the nursing department is it's staggering. I thought, I just wanted to ask you, given that you're a fresh set of eyes looking at our nursing program, if you could just tell us, based on your first year, what you see are our strengths in the nursing department and also some challenges.
The strengths, I think it's the individuals. I think it's the nursing staff for sure. I had exposure to the nursing staff before taking this position in a different role where I brought nursing students here. So I was able to see firsthand the nursing staff, how they interacted with students, how they interacted with other staff, how they brought in community partners to help education. So I think that they are the foundation of the department. They're hands-on. They're willing to always go above and beyond. I am grateful for Noelle. I think she, as you all know, has really put her heart and soul into the nursing department and left me in very good shape. Things that I think we could improve on is the data. We identified that there are some holes in the data that we would like to see that just kind of didn't make sense, so we're not capturing things that we may want to capture. So I talked to the staff, and we created a SNAP committee. So we have a few nurses from the elementary schools, 2 from the middle school and 1 from the high school, and we meet weekly. And we have some goals, and we've already started changing some of our practices so we can universally be documented in the same way, so things are going to be extracted the way we want them. And we're going to continue that into next year.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Mr. Muncy?
Just a few comments. I'd like to welcome you to the district. Thank you
Thank
for the
you.
report. Obviously, I have a deep appreciation for school nursing. My mom was a school nurse for 20 years. I know most of you have heard me say that every year. But Nicole's new.
I haven't heard it.
But no, I appreciate all the work that the nursing staff does here. We're lucky to have that 365 years of experience in the district, and you really need to be wired for this role, just to act with urgency. It's that emergency preparedness, kind of expecting the unexpected, and you come in and work every day with a smile on your face, and you never know what's going to happen, but you hope for the best, and you're just prepared to act accordingly. So thank you all for being here, especially as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I call the same. So thank you very much. I think it looks like an incredible first year. So thanks for the presentation. The community is incredibly proud and thankful for all the services that our nursing staff does every day in their respective schools, buildings. So thanks for the timeless service and also for your passion towards students' well-being and everything. One quick question. So we have an individual attendance, like 5,000 students, individual students coming into the visit. So so compared to last year, 96% went back to return to class rate is 96%, and this year is 91%. I'm just trying to see what's the reason for that gap.
Yeah, when I looked at the data, I was wondering that. It was also one of the reasons I wanted to get the SNAP committee up and running, because I think there's different ways to capture return to class, and it's very dependent on how they're documenting that. So we are working on that. It was one of the first things that brought the need to have this committee to look at the data and how we're inputting that and what's not being captured, because I do think that the number is higher. I know the numbers fluctuated over the years. From 2019 to now, it's always been above 90,
Right.
but it's been 91, it's been, last year was 96. So last year, I think, was the first year back into this electronic health record SNAP. So I'm not sure what other than how we're documenting it, and we have templates that we can click on to document certain things, and we're cleaning up those templates in libraries to make sure that there's not too many options, so they are able to document the proper one. You'll see an increase in that return to class rate.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming. It's maybe your first meeting. It's my second meeting, and I think you're doing great.
So you know I'm sweating.
Yes, it's doing great. You get sweaty, you'll get used to it. But thank you, and thank you all for your incredible work. I get to have the children that come home with the teeth that are missing, so thank you for that. I did want to highlight, I think it's great that you point out, because I was really surprised to see that 3.7% is for mental health of the visits to the nurse. I was really glad that you pointed out that it's clearly much, much higher, because I think that's a perfect example of just looking at data and saying there is a mental health crisis going on when really there is. So I'm really interested to see how that number changes next year when, like you said, the universal documentation kind of can take over. But thank you for great work.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I really appreciate you inviting me tonight.
My children get to visit Anne and Kristen a lot. Actually, it's just one. It's one, and she's in there a lot. It's incredible the amount of work that our school nurses do. And when you really look at the volume of visits that we have, I work in a outpatient clinic. We see lots of patients. And those numbers are on par with what a very busy practice does, but there are multiple providers. We have nurses, we have doctors, we have medical assistants, we have secretaries that are part of that. That's just the nurses that are working on this. And there's a lot of follow-up that happens. So it's really, to put it in perspective, it is a very busy job. And for many of you, it doesn't stop when the school bell rings, because we do have so much work that gets then put back into the schools between CPR training and and just again had mine for Girls on the Run, and I know that Kelly Warren does a lot with the unified teams. There are just, you know, the day doesn't, once the doors close, that's not it. Our nurses continue to give back, and I'm so appreciative of that, because you are comfort to all of the children when they're not home with us complaining about their lost teeth and their Band-Aids and whatnot. So truly, nursing has changed so much over the last few years, but I think even when we were in school, where you'd go down to the office and you get the Band-Aid and they'd call home, and you know, even though I get the phone calls from the nurses, it's usually like once they've already decided that they can't help her anymore. Rarely do I get the calls. They basically say, oh, I've already taken care of it. But this is a completely different nursing than we had before. So I appreciate that greatly. The one question I had, and it could just be with the change in the EMR or the EHR, because when we switched back, when the EHR changed back in 23, 24, the injury and the illness numbers, we've gone up fairly drastically. Like, just looking at the illness from 23, 24, we had 17,513, and then this school year we had 27,871, which looks like a pretty big jump. Is that maybe through documentation and the different options that can get put in? I mean, that just seems like
It seems like a very large jump, but when you look back to 2019, there were 18,000, then there were 12,000, then there were 26,000, then 20, so it seems like it ebbs and flows. It will be full disclosure, SNAP wants to do an upgrade. So we're going to be also, it doesn't cost the district anything, but it is something that's around the bend. I'm trying to push it off as long as I can to let them get all the bugs out and tweaks out before it comes into the district. So I hope that doesn't skew the data as well, because of the updates and what that might look like. So we haven't seen that. However, when it was rolled out to other districts, we had a SNAP shutdown for 3 days. So our nurses were not able to use the electronic health record, which brought a whole other bunch of, oh yeah, we need this, or oh yeah, how should we deal with this, and making downtime charts like back in the ER when I used to work there, by paper. So it really put a spin on kind of our SNAP committee and how we need to deal with when we do lose that health platform, the electronic health platform, because then the nurses had to go back. They had to document on a Google sheet, and then they had to go back and input it all into SNAP so we would have the data. So it's addendums, but so we would have the data. So that just happened 2 weeks ago. So I anticipate that there'll be some issues with the data just from those 3 days.
The other thing to remember, we tried another electronic health record, and then switched back. So they could probably speak to it, but that came with its own set of challenges. So we made the decision to go back to SNAP, and I think it's an improvement to what we tried to change to, but yet there's still this ongoing. So we also wonder if that plays a part in the numbers that we're looking at too, a little bit.
So we are working closely with SNAP, and we have our committee, and I think we are moving forward. I just wonder what it's going to look like when we have that upgrade.
Great, thank you. Dr. Swear, do you have anything to add?
Yes, please. We have an incredibly professional cadre of school nurses in our district, and certainly really we're pleased to welcome Kate this year. She's done an outstanding job. She, as you can tell, has a wealth of knowledge and experience as a nurse leader. Her connection through Quinsigamond and student nursing there was a really nice connection for us to make as well. And but previously nurse leader work in Worcester Public Schools. And I think the department hasn't missed a beat. I know I've appreciated working with her, as has Ms. Belcito. But as she mentioned, the strength of our school nursing are the people, the professionals who are doing the work every day. And as you pointed out, Ms. Sharif Kapoor, these are really busy offices. It's constantly on the go. And it can be everything from just managing typical day-to-day things to really responding to things that can be urgent. And you may recall, we were here a year ago celebrating our high school nurses who literally saved one of our students' lives when they had a cardiac event. So it really runs the gamut. I can't imagine there's a better team of nurses anywhere in the Commonwealth in terms of public education, and I think we're very fortunate to be in this position. Certainly, I know you've mentioned Ms. Freeman and her leadership over the years, and I think a sign of an excellent leader is that things continue to move after they leave, and being able to pick up and have someone terrific like Kate come in and pick up the mantle from Noelle and keep going with it has been really outstanding for the district. I am extremely confident that our children are well served in our school's nursing program, and it's really been a privilege to work with you. So thank you. Thank you for your leadership, Kate, and appreciate everything that you do. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next, Ms. Belcito's not going to go too far. The next time scheduled item on our agenda is a report on clinical and mental health services. Tonight we have Jamie Millett, Director of Mental Health and Counseling, and Ms. Belcito, who will provide updates regarding the mental and behavioral health of students in our district. Enclosed in our packets was a detailed report which included information on key areas of responsibility, mental health trends, department data analysis, staffing, training, and community partnerships. So welcome, Ms. Millett. I don't know if she had a softball game that she came from today, but
I was wrong. They moved the game. It's tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, you guys almost got me in my sweatsuit and on the field,
it
but
would have been okay.
it's
Playoff
tomorrow.
game, 4 o'clock at the high school
Yeah.
Thursday.
Oh, there we go. Yep. So thank you guys for having me. This is our typical spring meeting time, a little bit later this year. All the data I have from in that report and that I have tonight is all through April 1st. I usually prepare for an April or May meeting, so got pushed off a little bit, which is okay. It gave me some more time to collect everything. But thank you guys for having me, and thank you for your support over the years. So we'll jump right in. All right, so the first, you can go right ahead, Meg. First slide here I have is we're just going to look at some of the universal mental health screening data. These are proactive screenings that we do for early identification and just to help connect kids to supports and services both in and out of school. There's two different types of screeners that are listed here on this chart. We have SEL and mental health screeners. They're both essential, but they do have different roles. So an SEL screener is looking at assessing student soft skills. So think about like CASEL competencies, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Our SEL screener this year are the Waypoints with our new curriculum Wayfinder that we're utilizing. Wayfinder also has a counselor dashboard, which offers some Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, so we're still working through learning that platform. But then you have the BSAD, the GAD, and the SBIRT, which those are mental health screeners. So those are looking at assessing student mental health needs, anxiety, depression, substance abuse, risky behavior. I don't have SBIRT data looped into my presentation, but that is the substance abuse screener that we partner with the nursing department on. It is important to note they're all confidential, so regardless of whether it's an SEL screener or a mental health screener, they're confidential but not necessarily anonymous, so the mental health screeners do have follow-up based on how students score. Looking at numbers, we did screen quite a few kids, at least on the mental health side, probably even more so in the SEL screener side, but we screened 2,379 students in grades 6 through 11, which is a pretty good chunk of our student body. Here's looking at the GAD-7 data, which is our anxiety screener for 7th graders over at Oak. We pair this with the SBIRT screener typically in the fall. So I have the data for the last 3 years. You can see we have a slight upward trend, but we screened a little under 400 students this year. This is an evidence-based screener, but it's not necessarily a diagnostic tool. That's not necessarily our role in a school setting, but it does assess anxiety symptoms and gives us an opportunity to connect with students, offer supports, call parents, partner with families, and make referrals for services and supports as needed. We also identify students through the GAD and the BSAD screener, which I'll show that data in a moment, for some Tier 2 groups, where we're utilizing a CBT curriculum that some of our clinicians are trained in. Here is the BSAD screener, so it's a brief adolescent screening for depression. This is paired with our SOS curriculum, which is in partnership with the health department. We screened 1,981 students for depression utilizing the screener in grades 6 and then 8 through 11. You can take a look here at the data points, for each grade level, but I did kind of look at a comprehensive view for our most at-risk students across the district, and we had a little under 5%, little under 100 students screened in, endorsing a history of suicide attempt or having thought about suicide in the last 4 weeks. So if a student checks yes on either one of those two questions, it automatically requires a same-day follow-up. So those are the students that are in that red column there. Those students follow up with a school adjustment counselor or a school psychologist by the end of the school day, and then typically we're partnering with families, making plans, and then potentially connecting students with services in and out of school.
Jamie, just to that point, so when a student flags for that, and the counselor meets with the student, the parents are contacted?
Yep, we usually are contacting parents at any grade level at that point to have a conversation. Even if there's no immediate risk, typically we're calling home. I covered some of the screeners at the high school this year as a staff member was out, and just connecting with parents, having a conversation, making sure they know the history, those sorts of things. And it gives us an opportunity, I think, to connect and partner with families. All right, so I have historical BSAT data. So if we take a look at, I looked at the percentage of students requiring same-day follow-up across the last 3 years. Overall, if you look at grade 11, we have overall improvement. That's probably our best news story here throughout the grade levels. Grade 6 continues to show us the highest numbers. That is the first grade that students are screened. I think developmentally, that's kind of on point for 6th grade as well, just from a variety of social factors. And middle school is a really difficult time for kids. There's a lot of different pressures, and I think that kind of tracks with some of the other data that we're seeing in the middle school. Grades 8, 9, and 10, they all saw an increase as well. I mean, we are seeing a slight increase in statistics across all mental health domains. So this wasn't overly surprising once I put it into a graph. I also did a little digging and spoke with Dr. Lazat about getting access to the SPS Youth Behavioral Health Survey that we did. That's very different than a screening tool. It's an anonymous survey. Students are more likely to be honest, knowing that there's no disclaimer up front, like there could be a follow-up. So I was curious what the numbers looked like there and how it compared to what I was seeing. At the high school, we had 20% feeling sad or hopeless and 8% considering suicide. 5% had actually thought about making a plan. At Oak, we had really remarkably high numbers here. 78% feeling sad or hopeless, 9% seriously considering suicide, and then 5% making a plan. So in terms of that suicide risk, it looks similar at Oak and the high school. We have been doing some consultation with Riverside, who are experts in suicide prevention, and we're going to look to partner with them for some more professional development around this next year. It's difficult, and one of the things that Riverside has reminded us of is that, despite all the research and science, suicide remains highly unpredictable. But screeners are a way for us to try and be proactive and catch some of these kids early and make some connections with kids and families. We'll look at the crisis data in a few more slides. All right, so we're going to look at more specifically the department data. So we're just going to take a look at here. This is the staffing, which is a big part to you guys and your support that you've had for our department, making my position come to life, and also the addition of a variety of staff over the years. We do have a couple new positions that have been added since I presented last year. So we did add a SAC, school adjustment counselor, over at Sherwood because of the numbers and what the data was supporting. It is also important to note I have the psych highlighted for Sherwood. That's a position that actually went unfilled this year. Good news, we have filled a position for next year, and we've also hired another new psychologist to fill a high school opening as well. So I'm excited to bring on some new really talented folks with a lot of expertise.
So in part, and speaking about that, so what we had to do throughout this year is hire a contracted psychologist that would support some of the evaluations, along with other psychologists across the district, which we're very grateful. Also stepped in and also took on additional evaluations to support Sherwood throughout this year. So I just wanted to highlight that there were it was a team effort to make sure that the services that position and the responsibilities of that position were supported by others.
One other thing to note before we move on is just looking at our ratios. The American School Counselors Association, which is really geared towards school counselors, but the mental health field kind of falls under this ratio as well. The recommended ratio is 250 to 1. So we're in a pretty good place, all things considered. The high school is slightly out of ratio, but they also have school counselors that help provide some of the tier 2 services as well, which I didn't count towards the ratio here. Looking at caseloads, this visual gives you an idea of counseling caseloads by building. So counseling is defined as any one-to-one counseling, any groups or any check-ins or ad-needed support that is on a clinician's caseload. IEP is defined as a direct service that's gridded onto a child's IEP. Overall, when you look at our encounter data across grade levels from August schools, which is our EHR, the highest numbers are seen in grades 5 and 6, followed by 7, 8, and then 9 through 12, which indicates, it validates what we see here in the graph as well. The next slide just gives you a different look at our overall counseling caseloads by building. So it broke it down here by tier 3 services, which is again just that one-to-one or group counseling that's longer term, versus IEP direct service. And then the orange is some tier 2B services, which is more of a short-term counseling or a short-term group intervention that we're providing for students. Here are some data points for our district social worker. So Felicity has a role where she provides families all sorts of different types of support through home visits, phone calls, meetings, wraparound services, supports to try to get connected with food, housing, utilities, other outpatient referrals. She also is our homeless liaison. She goes to our bid meetings. We still have a pretty significantly high homeless student population, which she's still working on some of the data in Power School with central office, and those numbers could actually look a little bit higher. So we're looking to get some clarity on that for next year. She also attends all of our bid meetings for DCF in terms of placement. She's also providing direct counseling services to our RISE students, and is also providing some group social pragmatic support up at that program as well. She also covered a caseload at the high school. Felicity's been all over the place. Okay, so here's the emergency response data. So we have seen a slight increase at the elementary level compared to last year in referrals to youth mobile crisis or emergency mental health services. We have seen a very large increase at the middle level in terms of youth mobile crisis and EMH referrals. We've also seen an increase in students placed at a higher level of care, particularly at Oak. Last year, I actually had the data compiled together, where Oak and Sherwood were all as one. And just for comparison purposes, Oak and Sherwood combined had 3 inpatient and CBAT placements last year and 17 EMH referrals. Oak alone this year is just under 40 youth mobile or EMH referrals. In terms of 51A data, that's all remained pretty consistent over the last 3 years. All right, and wrapping up, looking at recommendations, many of these are the things that we've been working on. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a new recommendation, it's more like continued work. So we're gonna look to continue to expand our universal screeners. We're gonna learn more about the Wayfinders waypoints as an SEL screener and look to see how we can integrate that into some of the services that clinicians provide. We also are talking about trying to figure out a screener of sorts for grade 5, and that may be using a waypoint screener of sorts. We're going to continue to strengthen our MTSS interventions, providing consistency and continuity across the district. We're going to continue to offer meaningful professional development to make sure our staff who are doing extraordinary work with students, to make sure that they have all the right supports and professional development. That's not just getting the information and having the expertise, but also exploring curriculums that can support students. In the past, we've had Open Sky come out and do trainings on CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, using Trails to Wellness, which is a free resource, which is great. We've also explored an older curriculum, but it's more geared towards younger students, called Coping Cat, which is a CBT curriculum. We've also had Open Sky come in and provide some dialectical behavioral therapy curriculum to our staff. So we're going to continue to work on that and also lean on the expertise within our department. We have some really talented people that come from a variety of different backgrounds, and we've done a lot of professional development within the department just internally this year, which has been awesome. Last 3 recommendations, we're going to continue to work on building our SWT team process, making data-driven decisions with effective tier interventions, and making that consistent across the district. We're going to continue to strengthen, refine, and grow our TLC programming over at the elementary school. And lastly, we're going to begin a new partnership for clinical consultation. Dr. Kim Kuziak, after over a decade of consultation to the district, is retiring. So we want to thank Dr. Kuziak for all of her support and consultation and mentoring our staff over the last 10 plus years, long before I was here. I think it goes back to 2013, I think, as far as I could find in my files. So we wish Kim the best in her retirement, and we're looking forward to a new partnership with Dr. Alex Hirschberg, who is our consultation consultant for the TLC program. He specializes in therapeutic programming in schools, but also does some private practice work as well, and has been extremely helpful in our case consultation with TLC students. So we're going to look to shift our model a bit and lean on Dr. Hirschberg's expertise for clinical consultation moving forward. I don't think I have a last slide. Sorry, that's all I got. So, lastly, just to wrap up, just want to thank you guys again for having me. Thanks to Joe. This is my last mental health presentation for you. And to Megan and the other directors, and also to my amazing clinical staff for their support and the work that they do today with our students.
Colleagues? Ms. Boucher?
Thank you so much for the report. It's always great to hear from you and all the great work that your department does. I think one of the statistics in your report that really struck me is that 26% of students access clinical support, and what a huge number that is, that it's a quarter of our students. And that ranges from all different types of access, correct?
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I was most struck by in your presentation is the emergency response data, especially with regard to Oak. And I just wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about whether or not you feel like you have adequate resources in place at Oak to kind of deal with what you're seeing in terms of those numbers, because they look pretty alarming.
Sure. Yeah, we're leaning on Riverside quite a bit. I actually just had a phone call with them yesterday for some consultation, and they did some consultation with the staff as well over there. I guess I had to take a few steps back and lean on some colleagues from outside of our district to help me process some of that, because I'm still in it, not as in it as my clinicians at Oak, but I think we're identifying students, and I think that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I think that in terms of what our data looks like across the region, across the state, it's pretty similar right now, just statistically speaking. So I don't think we're an anomaly here. I think it's really that we're identifying the kids, which is huge. We're going to definitely look for ways with the partnership with Riverside next year of just how do we, support students in a different way, and even some of that being maybe student-led support systems as well, where we have students kind of champion some of the mental health awareness within the building. That was a recommendation that Riverside had given us, which I think would be an awesome opportunity. But in a lot of ways, these kiddos are coming up not through our screeners, but they're going and seeking out a trusted adult.
That's great.
And if it's not for themselves, it's for a friend, so we definitely, we give praise and positive reinforcement to those kids that are doing the right thing. I think that also speaks to our signs of suicide curriculum, which that's the premise of it, is to make sure that you're acting and you're talking to a trusted adult when you're worried. So I think some of it is that we're catching the kids and we're identifying them. So it's not good news, but it's positive that we're being proactive in that sense.
I also, just to follow up, you've also formalized the referral process this year to the clinical coordinator support. Is that increased the numbers in terms of like the reporting, or?
In terms of like our BCBA clinical coordinator support, I wouldn't necessarily I don't think so. I think we've actually seen a slight decrease in the CORDS support, but I also think it's because we've gained so many mental health staff, so I think it's almost shifted a bit. The CORDS also work in a consultative model, so it's designed not to be long-term necessarily. They go in, kind of get behavior plans off the ground, bring a different lens to the team, and then maybe give some data collection systems, maybe they do an FBA, and then they're kind of fading back their support as things get off the ground. And so that, with the capacity of having 4 across the district, plus more mental health clinicians that they're partnering with, I think we've actually probably seen a decrease in their caseloads a bit. Because I know before I got here with just 2, it was astronomical numbers, and they were all over the place. So I think we're stabilizing cases. There are some that they're on long term. I mean, that's just the reality of the profile of some students.
That's good.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Can you speak a little bit more about how our data is similar to what you're seeing, whether it's in the state or nationally? Because I agree it is alarming, especially to see the suicidal thoughts that some students are having, but that is, like you said, reflective of the state.
Yeah, that's Riverside and both some of my other colleagues on the Mass Mental Health Consortium Leadership Group have confirmed that that's similar trends. We actually keep really great data here. I asked my staff for a lot of data. I mean, I obviously present a lot of data to you guys every year. And when I've actually asked other districts, I'm like, hey, can you send me just a snapshot of some of your data points? And they're like, I don't have it, but can you show me how you keep yours? And so we actually, I think, are ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. John Crocker, who runs the consortium, he's my role up in Methuen Public Schools. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a comparable district. A number he threw out to me was that they're monitoring off their BSAD or PHQ, which is another depression screener, about 12% of kids that endorse suicide. So we're at about under 5%. So we're actually doing a little bit better than Methuen. But he confirmed too, a lot of regional survey data looks like it's trending in an upward direction. And I think that speaks to our youth behavioral health survey data as well, which, like I said, is anonymous, so I think students may be more likely to be honest. The other reality with those screeners or their surveys, it's a snapshot in time for some of these kiddos. So just because they're okay in the fall doesn't mean they're going to be okay, throughout the rest of the school year.
Sure. Yeah.
The other survey they took, the regional youth survey that the Wellness Advisory Committee with Dr. Lazat and Dr. Sawyer, Jamie, and the whole team, looking at those results and comparing them to our in-district results, even though they're anonymous, I think it's also going to help build goals, proactive goals, things that we can do in response to what we're seeing in the numbers. So Jamie mentioning that, and that other group will be important to look at in the next year or coming years, along with our priorities around the well-being, because the numbers do concern us, and they do continue each year that we've actually been looking at it more closely. I am happy that our clinical department uses an electronic health record, different than our nurses. It's not SNAP, it's called August Schools, although Jamie gets super frustrated with it because they don't work in a lot of districts. A lot of districts don't have electronic health records for the clinical department, but it is the software system that we're using and continuing to work with them to make the product more useful for us. But it is something that I think will help us continue to look at the numbers, how they're trending, what can we do. I don't know if you want to say anything else about August Schools, but I know that's something you're asking the department to use more.
Yeah. So August Schools we've had now for 3 years. So anytime they have an encounter with a student, they're tracking it and logging it. Similar to what you would do in an outpatient setting. Schools don't have the same ties to insurance, as you would in an outpatient clinic. So historically, when I first got here, everybody had their own system. And so when I'm trying to pull data to come to you guys, it was really difficult my first year. Moving into the August system has been nice for us to be able to create some of this macro level data and look at encounters across the district. We can break it down by grade level, by building. There is some caveats to it where sometimes we're comparing apples to oranges with the data. We have some buildings that have more capacity for tier 2 because they have less tier 3 going on, and so their data might look like they have a lot of encounters, but maybe they're short term. Whereas, in some of my other buildings with high crisis, they could log one encounter, but that one encounter could have been with a student in crisis for, 3 hours. Some data that I've looked at to see who has the most, extreme or, significant tier 3 needs is I'll look at, number of students with 20 plus encounters throughout the school year. So the frequent flyer kiddos that you're constantly supporting. So it gives us an, ability to look through a lot of different data lenses at what we need.
First off, thank you for the report and for all the work that you and your staff are doing. Very valuable. And it got me thinking, when was your first year here?
2022, 23.
Okay.
Right? Sorry.
So, like going back 3 years, that kind of when we collect certain data points, like you have in the report, with regards to, let's say, those follow-ups. Like, have we just been tracking that since you came into the district?
I'd say probably by my second year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say my second year we probably had a more solid data collection. So if you look at my slides, and a lot of what I had in the report goes back 3 years,
Right.
even though I've been here for 4. Yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of the work I did in the first year was creating systems.
Right.
We didn't get August until I think my second year. You know, it was one of those things. I was kind of figuring out the district and in a lot of different directions, but we got some systems underway, and I still think we're building systems for collecting data. So hopefully next year I have some more data to share with you guys.
Yeah, no, it's valuable, very valuable data, and a lot of times when you're going through these annual reports with us, I think about what we did prior to you coming here, right? Like, and we made a lot of investments in mental and behavioral health, and
Yeah.
certainly want to, especially around the middle school level,
Yeah.
definitely keep an eye on that, right? Because we haven't shied away from providing support as a board, so definitely want to track that. But again, I can't thank you enough and your staff for all the valuable information that you're collecting and the support that you're providing our students.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you. So yeah, I definitely well, first thanks for the presentation, and I definitely agree. Dr. Lazard's survey, the anonymous survey, will be interesting to see how it relates whenever we compare these data points with her survey points. The other question is like, do we do this at every year at a set period, or do we try to change the time frame to see whether that has any
Like in terms of when we do the screeners?
screeners? Yeah.
Yeah, great question. So the tough thing, especially with the BSAD screener, because it's paired with the SOS curriculum, it's working with the health department on the scope and sequence of their curriculum in the classrooms and when to fit it in. At Oak, it's whenever the kids are taking health class. So it is offered 3 times throughout the year, but it's based on when the kids are taking health. At the high school, it's a little bit more challenging because we're also up against a variety of other things, especially with using our school counselors. They're doing a lot of post-secondary prep with seniors, so they're not available for certain parts of the year. So it's offered once in the fall, once in the spring. We do try to avoid holidays. I can tell you what times we avoid. Usually November and December are times that we try not to do screeners. If we have to, we try to do early November. We also try to avoid doing before breaks. We try not to screen on Fridays. We definitely don't screen on the last block of the day because we've got to make sure we track students down. Things like that. But a lot of it is like we're up against the logistics of the school setting, which I think makes it a little bit more challenging. But it's something, to look at for sure. I would be interested if I did a little bit bigger dive into the data in terms of like time of year and when these numbers reflect. Yeah.
Thank you.
I also want to acknowledge the tremendous effort of our clinical staff, our counselors, our psychologists, our social workers, administrators, our teachers, nurses, community, supporting the social emotional needs of the students and the behavioral needs is truly a team effort, and it's extremely hard work. And I think that this report highlights the depth and quality of what is going into it. Although I'm not happy that we're having students that are having, ideations, it's promising that a lot of the work that's being done in the schools, making sure that there are trusted adults in that building and that the students know that they can go and they feel comfortable saying something extremely vulnerable, and that they're not going to get in trouble and that they're really saving somebody's life. I'm glad that we have the supports that we do and the investments that have been made. Because for me, even if it changes one student, that's a huge thing. If you could point to one thing in your entire department that would really be helpful, beneficial, support, financial, people, whatever it could be, if you could wave that magic wand, what would it be that you would need extra support on?
Do tell.
Yeah, I know. This is a tough
Not
question.
saying it exists,
This is
but
a tough question. I mean, one thing that I have been talking with folks about, and I'm still learning like everybody else is like how to use AI to look at our data in just a more comprehensive way than I can wrap my head around. And I would love to somehow build or find a software that tracks students over the course of their career here, so that we could look at, I was actually talking to Tiffany about something, if we could, have this magic platform that had all student data, had like their STAR data, their academic data, but then also had their mental health screening data as well. Right now we operate off of our Google Suite. We use Google Forms for our data. It is secure, and meets, HIPAA and FERPA regulations and all that good stuff. But it's one of those things, like if you had a kid in front of you and they screen in, in 9th or 10th grade, you'd have to really go back and call me, and I'd have to go through the forms because I'm the owner of them and find if they screened in earlier. So that would be really, I think, insightful information for us to look at, like longitudinally for students, and like, are we making an impact? And if not, like, what do we need to do differently? Particularly I think from like a kind of that tier 1 lens, school culture, identification, proactive things. I don't know if that software exists, probably costs a lot of money.
So that raises a follow-up question. So in the current scenario, we don't follow the cohort, right? It's like a 6th grader entering into 8th grade. We don't track that particular individual as an individual person and how it's improving. It's mostly a snapshot of a class in a certain period of time.
Yes, yeah. We only would be tracking like progress monitoring data per se if the student was identified on like an IEP or if they were identified on a clinical caseload. Some of it we may be able to track in August schools. You do get historical information there from a case log perspective. So you can go back and look through, historical information for kiddos that way. But in terms of like data pieces, like it's not like we click on a button in August and like a graph comes up on your screening data. That's what I would love, so that we could easily find that information to see.
Thank you.
Dr. Sawyer, do you have anything to add?
I want to thank Ms. Millett for her leadership of the department, which has been outstanding, and the team in the clinical mental health service department. They make an incredible difference every day for our students, and it is obviously sobering data. We know we've had some recent situations that were serious, and that are being addressed with seriousness by our clinical staff, families, outside providers. But there continues to be a mental health crisis among youth in the United States. And Shrewsbury, of course, is not immune from that. That's something that is a societal issue that I am very grateful that the school committee and the community has been able to support significant increase in our resources over the last, a few years ago in particular, we grew the resources and we're utilizing them every day. Added one more position this current year, and but also adding the therapeutic program at Beale has been huge, and you've heard about that in different ways, and you'll have a presentation next week from District Management Group that will talk about our student services, and we'll reiterate again the benefits of having in-district programming, both in terms of what we can provide to our students and their own community, and also how that can be very cost-effective at the same time from a financial standpoint. But regardless of the finances, we need to make sure that we're providing for our community's youth adequate support when it comes to their mental and behavioral health. And that's something that is challenging, but much more doable than it was several years ago before we were able to bring Ms. Millett's position on board, some of the additional adjustment counselors, adding more BCBAs, our social worker, Ms. Boisvert does terrific work. We have more of a system now, and I do believe, I see Dr. Ostrander nodding her head in the back around longitudinal data, and how is it that we can continue to build systems ultimately for the most prevention we can possibly do. And that's done through connection, and the fact that we have had some situations where someone has said something on behalf of a friend that we've been able to look into, and it turned out were serious situations that if that student hadn't spoken up, it's very scary to think about what the outcome might have been in those cases. And at the same time, as Ms. Millett says, it's, suicidality is very unpredictable, and it's something that, has been affected our community in the past, and it's something that we are working really hard to try to provide as much support as we can. But we can continue to get better at it. I'm confident that we will continue to get better at it. I can think of few things, if anything, that's a better investment of our resources than the health and well-being of our students, and that includes mental health and well-being. So thank you to you, thank you for your team, thank you to Ms. Belcito for the support of the group. And as you heard, they collaborate a lot. They collaborate with our nurses, they collaborate with our health teachers. We're a school system, and that's just really important to make sure we have the component parts that can collaborate to make sure that our students are well served. So, but again, deeply appreciative that we have a very skillful team and skillful leadership, and I'm grateful for the very important work they do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And we
you.
all hope she wins tomorrow night in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Plan.
Right, 4 o'clock, Shrewsbury High School,
That's
home
the
game,
plan.
softball.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is a report on extended school care and a tuition recommendation for the 2026-2027 school year. Ms. Karen Isaacson, Director of Extended Learning, is here with us tonight to present information on our extended school program, and Mr. Girardi is joining her. So, welcome.
Thank you. Before I jump into my presentation, I would like to just take a moment to recognize 2 extraordinary leaders who are retiring from Extended Day at the end of this month. The first is Joanne Tonelli, Site Coordinator at Floral Street School. Joanne joined the Extended Day program in the fall of 1999, assumed a leadership position 2 years later. For the past 25 years, she has served the Floral community with her creativity, dedication, and strength. She has seen many changes over the years and was always able to adapt the program's practices to meet the needs of the students and families. She is one of the calmest people I know and handles every crisis with thoughtfulness and caring. She's a foundational member of our team and will be deeply missed. I'd also like to recognize my assistant, Mary Rana, who is retiring from Extended Learning after 32 years. Mary joined Extended Day in 1994 at Patton School, not long after the program was started. And at that time, there were so few children, they were bused to a single location. And when Coolidge offered its first on-site care, Mary became the site coordinator, where she led the program for almost 20 years. She was known for her creative activity and event planning, her dedication to the students and staff, and her ability to make everything fun. When I became the director in 2014, Mary was doing part-time office work in addition to her site coordinator responsibilities. It was immediately apparent what an asset she was to the smooth operation of the business, and I persuaded her to leave her beloved Coolidge to be my full-time admin assistant. Her institutional knowledge of Extended Day was indispensable as I learned the ins and outs of my new job, and as our programs grew and our business practices changed, Mary was right there with me, ready to learn something new and take on a new challenge. She is kind and generous and makes me laugh every single day. I am so grateful to have had her steady support for the last 12 years and will miss her more than I can say. These 2 leaders have touched thousands of lives in our community over their combined 59 years in Shrewsbury, and it is with enormous gratitude I wish them both the best in their next adventure. And then finally, I would like to recognize the new Assistant Director of Extended Learning. When Mary told me she was retiring, I evaluated all the ways our program has changed in the last 12 years and decided it was time to really redefine the job description to become an Assistant Director position. After screening 20 applicants and bringing 4 highly qualified finalists before an interview panel, I'm delighted to announce that Caitlin Maddox has been selected for the position. Caitlin has worked in the Beal Extended Day program since 2006 and has been that site coordinator for the last 15 years. She has exceptional leadership skills, a commitment to inclusive programming, and a strong vision for the ways that we can continue to grow. Throughout this interview process, it became clear that she possesses all of the varied skills needed for this position and that she embodies the core values of our district. She's already begun training and will move into the role full-time after the last day of school. So now, on to my report and my screen sharing. Select on Zoom. So extended learning at a glance. This slide captures the scope of the participation across all of the varied programs we offer. I'm thrilled that participation in vacation weeks, summer enrichment, and ASAP classes continue to climb since the pandemic, both because teachers are more interested in teaching and students are more interested in attending. Like it is a mutually inclusive situation. We nearly doubled the number of ASAP classes we offered this year across the district with, 62? No. Sorry, I've lost my like 67 different classes. These are hour-long enrichment classes. And I'm continue to be impressed by the quality of things that teachers bring in their proposals and with keeping up with the times. We had a really brand new class on hydroponics this past vacation week, which was so cool. But also K-pop Demon Hunters, which any with small children know is hugely popular. In addition to the wonderful sports and cooking and coding types of activities we offer. So I'm very grateful for the teachers to continue to provide such varied programs to meet a wide range of ages and interests. For extended day in particular, we have seen a drop in full-time equivalent enrollment. This is related in part to the increase in tuition over the years. And in a direct way, when we raised tuition last fall, I started getting feedback from parents about our enrollment policies. I had limited enrollment to like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, or all 5 days, and there was no flexibility for families. And while that was a good business practice for maintaining adult-to-child ratios and things like that, it really wasn't meeting the needs of our families. And many parents were being required to pay for days of care they didn't need. So in the face of another tuition increase, I decided to compromise and go back to a more flexible enrollment policy that let parents choose, as long as they chose 2 days or more, they could choose any days they wanted. And that helped them make their childcare costs more affordable. They were only paying for what they actually used. So at the elementary level, when I look at my, like this sheet that's kind of showing last year's enrollment to this year's enrollment. From a head count point of view, at the elementary level, we have almost the exact same number of students, but the FTE has changed because parents are using fewer days per week. The outlier is at Sherwood, and I don't really know what to attribute this to, but we are looking into it. We started the year with 18 fewer kids than we did at the beginning of the previous year. That were 14 FTE. And while I always expect to see a decline as the year goes on and kids gain more independence, starting that much lower surprised me. And I don't feel I can attribute that entirely to cost because the elementary didn't change in the same way. I think in part, Sherwood just continues to offer more and more extracurricular activities, musicals, sports, unified, things like that. And parents still have some flexibility in their work schedules. We did see a big drop when we changed the school start and end times that, Sherwood buses get home later so kids can take the bus home and not have so much time alone. So those are all factors, but it's still something we're watching really closely of. It may be time to think really creatively about what we offer, that what we've done for years and years may not be what that community needs anymore. So that's something kind of on my agenda for next year to be looking into. How do we make this better meet the needs of that community? Did I hit everything on that slide? I'm gonna go backwards for a minute here. Okay. We face some consistent operational challenges that we've had for the last few years. There continues to be a large number of families needing financial assistance, so they are meeting the federal guidelines for free or reduced lunch. We see a number of students who need additional adult support in order to meet their needs, and those numbers continue to rise. But probably the biggest factor in this were unanticipated complications that delayed our ability to accept vouchers for this school year. And that's something that Mr. Girardi can speak to, I think.
Thank you. So as the state vouchers program came on board, it's at the same time where the state started to adjust some of their prerequisite requirements to qualify for the voucher program. Many of them were around, buildings, certificates of inspection and such. So we in the Public Buildings Division, we've been working together to meet the requirements. Most of them have been met. Some of them we are still working on and we have not received yet. At the end of the day, we don't have all of the requirements in place to receive the voucher access. It's been frustrating, right? It's been something that we've been working hard for. Many times we feel like we're crossing the finish line and that finish line moves on us and we have to go back to the drawing board and continue the work. But we are continuing to work on them. We see some real positive movement this summer in meeting all the requirements and being ready to apply for the voucher program come this this next school year with all components in place.
Chris. And so we are optimistic that we will be able to launch this in the fall and begin accepting vouchers. In the long-term view, if 100% of our low-income families received a child care voucher, we would not have any need to increase our tuition because all of those funds would be reimbursed to equate to our full-paying families. Even if we are approved and accepting vouchers as of September 1st, state voucher funds that are available for childcare fluctuate with budgets and politics. Parents are often put on a waiting list and they don't get that. They qualify, but they don't get the funds right away. So it will be a process of rolling out. In terms of planning for next year, it is knowing that there are several factors that give families instant access to voucher care, and that could be an open case with DCF or DTA, or a family who has a voucher for their younger sibling in preschool would be able to get their older school-aged child added to that voucher. So I used that as one of my budget assumption points, that kind of based on who is in our program right now, who might be able to have a voucher right away in the fall. So that moves me into my kind of budget assumptions as I sat down to project whether we would need a tuition increase. So if I assume that enrollment levels hold steady, they don't drop, they don't rise, we are same FTE we currently have, and then assume that staff will receive an increase of up to 3%, which is similar to other employee groups. Health insurance will increase 8% this year, but due to, I have 4 different benefits eligible people who are retiring this year, and looking at who's probably coming in to take those spots, we won't carry the same health load that we are currently carrying. So even though health insurance is going up, my cost I expect will go down next year. I have reduced our discretionary spending to be in line with our lower enrollment. Even from last year, what I budgeted for that, we did not spend what I budgeted because our enrollment was lower. And then again, assuming that 25% of parents have a voucher. With all of those assumptions, a tuition increase will be necessary. Here's a snapshot of what I'm anticipating in terms of revenue, the amount of reduced fee we will offer, wages, benefits, supplies, etc. With a 5% tuition increase, we would have a very small cushion of $26,000. To put that in perspective, I mean, that is, where are my numbers? It is, I think, 5 or 6 full-time equivalent people drop out. I mean, our tuition is about $4,200 a year. That is one student from each building doesn't come next year, and I've lost my whole cushion. Or someone comes in who does need health insurance who I wasn't anticipating about. Like they lost their coverage through their spouse and they suddenly are eligible through me, things like that. $26,000 is a pretty small cushion. I ran this number with a smaller increase. I mean, I think with a 3.75% increase, we would literally zero out. And that's just no margin of error. So for that reason, I'm recommending a 5% tuition increase, though I do this with the recognition that we've had, consistent increases recently. This shows you our current 5-day after-school tuition is $417 a month, and 5% would increase that to $438. There's a note here at the bottom, because if you were to compare to previous year's presentation, when enrollment choices were limited, and you had a Tuesday, Thursday, or a 5-day, the cost of early release days was baked into your monthly fee. We didn't separate that out because you were contracted for Tuesday and you paid for it. when I put in this flexible enrollment for families, my billing software just doesn't have a way to accommodate that. So we now separate that out as a $25 per early release day fee for families. So when I'm saying it'll be $438 a month for 5 months of the year, and then the 5 months where we have an early release day, it'll be $438 plus another $25. I just want to be transparent about that. That's not an increase in tuition, it's just a change in how we bill that. So I always do a local rate comparison. There are still programs that are considerably higher than we are, and some that are, lower but not considerably lower than us. I think over the years, we used to be kind of at the rock bottom of that list, and we're creeping more into the middle, but still very, very competitive to the market for similar types of programs across, whether they're private or in public schools. And it's always telling to look at the state reimbursement rate is still, lower, it was still higher than what we offer, meaning they're willing to give me like $25 a day, and we don't even charge $25 a day. They will give me up to what I charge. So knowing that the state has very conservative funds, we're still below that rate, which I think is an indication that we are really within our market, even with this 5% increase. Any other notes in here? It is, with the voucher system, it is my goal to drastically reduce or eliminate the internal subsidy that we offer. And I think we will discuss in the future, if a family doesn't have a voucher, how we will continue to support them for how long. For next year, I'm not making any recommendations to change our current discount policy because of the uncertainty of when parents might be able to get a voucher. And ultimately, in my conclusion and recommendations are for a 5% increase, up to a 3% cost of living increase for staff, and continuing the discounts. Parent work schedules and childcare needs have not gone back to pre-pandemic patterns. In the coming months, I will use community surveys and interviews with school-based program directors in other towns to explore further options for after-school activities that meet the needs of our community. We will also explore new methods of advertising and marketing to attract more families. And it's my hope that the combination of innovative programming, flexible enrollment policies, and state subsidies will create a strong and sustainable financial base for extended learning programs and slow down our need for annual fee increases. So thank you, and I will take questions.
Great. Colleagues? Ms. Boucher?
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Really appreciate it. I know and thank you to your staff. They do excellent work, and it's a wonderful program. I'm very pleased that we can continue to offer it at a very reasonable and competitive rate to the community. In looking at your recommendations and your report, I'm supportive of the 5% increase. I think, especially in light of given the flexible enrollment policy that you're implementing, I think people are being able to pick and choose. I think there's a definite benefit to that they're receiving. And in looking at the 5%, I think, of course, it's unfortunate we need to raise it at all, but given the uncertainty with the vouchers, and I think you do need to leave some cushion there, So I am supportive of that increase, but thank you. And I think it's, will be interesting to see what some of the survey data brings back in terms of, especially around the Sherwood program, and see, maybe are the needs a little bit different there as the kids age out of the more, the elementary program? Are they looking for something a little bit different? So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Ms. Boucher. We always hear the value that this program provides and how great the staff is, and the children really benefit from it. We do our best to mitigate as much as we can any increase in fees. This, comparatively to other districts, this still provides a great value to the district, and I'm supportive of the increase. Would obviously like to hear feedback from the public as well, as we do annually. But thank you very much for the presentation.
My children both use the early care, so thank you very much for that. No, I think it's a tremendous program, and it gives working parents like myself who don't have someone who can come at 7 o'clock in the morning really an opportunity to go to work, or at the end of the day for those parents that use that as well. And I think what's really eye-opening is, like you said, if one student from every school suddenly stops, that profit, quote unquote, goes to zero, which really goes to show it's not a for-profit program. It's really just trying to balance it out as best as you can. So I also am in support of the 5% increase, and I did want to touch on if there is any level of profit, and Mr. Girardi, this may be a question for you, but can you speak on what those profits could be used for? My understanding has to be exclusive to this program. Can you speak to that?
That's correct. So any revenue collected for a program, such as extended day, is in a revolving account, and everything in that revolving account must be used for what the dollars taken in are intended for, which is the extended day program. So all extended day revenue coming in is used for extended day. In the past, when we've had a little bit of additional profit, sometimes it means we need to hire more staff because we have a greater enrollment. It means we need more staffing, which is always a good news story.
Yeah.
So when the program's healthy, all the revenue that comes in does go directly right back into the program. It allows for things like additional materials to be purchased so that they have great activities to do on days. If anyone's experienced the early release day programming that they do in extended day, it's amazing. So they do really wonderful stuff, and all the money that is taken in goes into great programming for kids.
And I can say, I mean, there have been things that we have held off on doing for the past few years. There's, I would invest more in professional development systematically for staff. We'll do some minimum pieces within our budget, but that's something that's really an initiative we want to grow. We've really cut back on things like field trips and replaced it with in-house events, so the kids still have a fantastic time, but there are things that we used to do that we don't do anymore. They're just not within the budget. And I think there have been ways that have been mutually beneficial to, we could replace a piece of equipment that extended day uses, but also the school day uses, so it is for our purpose, but it benefits the entire community, and that's something that hasn't happened in a long time either. So we look forward to having a little more stability in the future to keep benefiting our kids and our community.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I think this is always great. The programs are terrific, as my colleagues mentioned. Kids enjoy it all the time. So my kids definitely enjoyed, for sure. My question, a couple questions related to the cost increase, right? So there is a 5% cost increase, and then there is no voucher program. So that may have a tremendous impact on what the outcome would be in the enrollment process. So this is a more comment rather than a question. So the 5%, we have to wait this and see the data, how it goes, the enrollment process and everything with the increase. I totally support the increase for 5%. That's not the point, but I was trying to understand what are the operational factors that are still pending to get the voucher program up and running. I just want to see where we are.
Sure.
And what's still pending, and who's responsible for that?
Right.
Sure. So we are working with the Public Buildings Division there's certain requirements for the buildings to meet a certain code that we are working on. Again, many of those code issues have been addressed. Those are kind of the typical school building needs to have a safe building. Some of the voucher expectations require us to work on kind of some new items that have come down the road that, again, we'll be addressing with plans beginning this summer around a few different inspection pieces.
I'll follow. So these requirements, are they new, or is it to the voucher program? So why we are now having the gap?
So some of the changes in requirements are evolving.
Okay.
So what we've been working with the public divisions team to do is to get up to speed with those evolving expectations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
where your children go in the morning, mine go in the afternoon. And for me, I cannot speak more highly about the Beal Extended Day Program. And actually, I ran into Miss Maddox today when we were picking up. And I couldn't be more proud of the fact that it's bittersweet because she will be leaving the program, and Courtney and Caitlin are just amazing. And they run a really tremendous program. But Caitlin is going to make huge, she's going to be great. And I'm so proud of her. The program is really tremendous. I mean, and it's not just, and I think that sometimes people will look and they think that after school and before school are just like quick, like kids get to play and that's what it is. But it's really more than that. There's homework club, there's gardening club. They did have a field trip to the Ecotarian, which by the way, for parents cost $0 extra. We didn't have a field trip that you had to pay extra to. This was part of the program. And they had a great time. And the extended day Tuesdays that we have the early release, one, I don't have to worry about getting home at a certain time to have her picked up, but she goes and it's, like Trolls Day and Beach Day, and they come home with these terrific things that they've worked on. So when you look at what the students are getting out of it, and then you compare that to if you had to pay for your children to be in a private care, nothing compares to it, even with the increase going up. Do I love the fact that we have to increase it? No. However, what the students, what the families are getting out of it is truly tremendous. And I think that this is small and, it's not something that we're necessarily making tremendous money off of. But this is, I'm glad that you said that, it's not really about the money, but it's about what the families wanted. That's the most important part of that. Right. My question, though, I guess for you is, I know that right now the extended day enrollment is open, at least for existing families. I know that anybody can sign up at any point, and I'm guilty of this because I have not signed up yet. I will be. But do you have a quick look into what enrollment sort of looks like next year yet?
It's too soon. I mean, it's been open for a while. I think since we have not had a wait list in 5 years, there's not the same sense of urgency for parents to register, and often they're waiting until they know certain other pieces of their child's schedule before they sign up. So while we'll see an immediate burst of registrations, we'll see another big burst before school starts. Yeah. So it's a hard thing to predict. Yeah. And when we put out reminders, we'll see an uptick. And Miss Courtney went to the Beal family, and I got 15 enrollments overnight after she sent the message. So there are reminders that need to go out. But I know that when we had a wait list, it was sign up in the next 2 weeks or you lose your spot. And now there's not that same sense of urgency. And I understand parents wanting to wait till they have a better sense of what they need. Yeah. I'm going to take a tiny tangent based on some of the things you said. I don't speak of often, but the value of the program I think brings to the school community and not just to the parents. I get requests a lot from adjustment counselors, principals saying, this is a student who's having a hard time getting to school. This parent really needs before school care. What can we do for this family? We have kids who this is their favorite part of their day. They're struggling learners, but they love to come to school because they know they're going to see their favorite staff and their friends and do these great crafts. Our staff see their parents. They see your faces every single night, where teachers don't. And so my staff do a tremendous job partnering, again, with classroom teachers, building administrators, adjustment counselors, of making sure we have that communication flow going. It's a lot of the behind scenes work that they do when they're not directly in front of kids. My site coordinators come in 2 hours early. They do a lot of that partnership work, and they're very good at relaying information back and forth. So our kids are getting consistent expectations and support, and school is getting back a homeschool connection and information that might be lacking because it's very hard for a classroom teacher to see a parent as often as we get to see parents. So I think I'd like to point out that value beyond just like parents have an amazingly safe childcare program that we're helping kids get to school every day as well. And a lot of pride in my staff for the partnerships they build around that.
I think it's also important to something just to tag on to what you said, that at least from what I've seen, students who are leaving, they're waiting for their parents to come. the staff that are in those buildings, they are also a trusted adult for a lot of these students. And they form these connections. They have formed the connections with people like Caitlin, and I know that we had a staff member leave. I don't think it was permanently. I think she's just gone for a little while. But like my daughter came home and she was like, "I'm really sad that Miss Gabby is not there anymore," and she really had to process that because she would come home and talk about like Miss Gabby did homework with me. So the kids are making connections with people there that they feel safe to say that, which I think leads into also what we've been talking about tonight. But it really does. It's not just an after school, a before school program. It is an extension of the school day. So, yeah. And I too am in favor of the increase. But I would like to mention for those who are in the community that might be watching tonight, if you do want to contact the school committee with any of these thoughts on proposed increases and you want to give us feedback, please do so by emailing us at schoolcommittee@shrewsbury.k12.ma.us. We'll be voting on these proposed changes at next week's meeting, so that will be June 10th. So if you do have comments or questions, please make sure to send it to us prior to then.
And I will send email to the extended day community, letting them know about this proposal and asking for their feedback.
Perfect. Thank you. Dr. Sawyer?
Thanks so much.
I certainly want to reiterate everything that's been said, and although it was a few years ago now, my wife and I utilized extended school care for our 3 daughters when they were in elementary and middle school, and it's just a really high-quality program. I will add another layer to what Ms. Isaacson was saying about students accessing school, making sure that they, we know that high-quality before or after school care makes a difference in terms of how well kids do in school. And when we have families that otherwise might not be able to access that care, those students do better in our schools. It benefits us during the school day, not only the families by having safe care outside of the school day. So again, it's a super high quality program. Thank you to all the staff members. I also want to mention, we'll recognize all the retirees next week for the district, including those from extended school care, but just to, again, Ms. Tonelli at Floral Street School and the tremendous work she's done as a lead for over the years. Mary Rana in the executive assistant role has been wonderful to work with, and I know so supportive of the program. And I also want to congratulate Caitlin Maddox on being our first assistant director, and she has done extraordinary work at Beal, going back to when it was at 1 Maple Avenue, when my children went there. And I will share a fun fact. Caitlin has great roots because she, like myself, is a native of Clinton. And she happened to have my mom as a teacher when she was growing up. She's terrific, and again, been with us a long time, and we're really excited for her to move into this leadership role. So thank you to Ms. Isaacson again, and we're looking forward to continued success of the program. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item is under policy, and it's a vote to update the position description of Assistant Superintendent for Community Partnerships and Wellbeing. The position of Assistant Superintendent for Community Partnerships and Wellbeing was created back in 2019 to enhance partnerships with businesses and community groups, strengthen the alumni network, increase philanthropic giving and sponsorships, and promote social emotional learning and the well-being of students and staff. Dr. Lizotte has served in this role since it started, with the exception of 2 years where she was leading Patton as the acting principal. With Dr. Lizotte retiring at the end of June, Dr. Ostrander has reviewed the original job description, and she's consulted with Dr. Lizotte, Ms. Balsito, and Dr. Sawyer, and considered ways in which to update the role's responsibilities to match the evolution of the position and the strategic priorities of the district. Dr. Ostrander is proposing several updates to the job description, including a title change to Assistant Superintendent for Wellbeing and Community Systems. A memo from Dr. Ostrander and a revised job description have been included for our review, and Dr. Ostrander joins us here tonight to discuss her proposed changes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Girardi's helping me connect to the
Yep.
Wi-Fi.
Thanks for the help.
You're welcome.
always how technology goes when
Of course,
you
when
need
you
it,
get-
right? I think the suspense will make the presentation even better.
We've got to really knock it out of the park at this point.
Yeah, I believe that to be true.
It's finicky tonight. Do you want to send this
I was
to
gonna
me?
say,
And
I'm
I'll-
gonna share it
yeah.
with you. All right, we're gonna share it with Mr. Girardi and try his computer. Hopefully Chris's computer will work. And in the interim, I'm excited to be here this evening in a different capacity than I have presented in previously, moving from the principal seat to the superintendent-elect. And this evening, we're talking about my first proposal to all of you regarding an update to the title and the job description that Dr. Lizotte currently holds, which is the Assistant Superintendent of Community Partnerships and Wellbeing. And my intention this evening is to propose to you a new title and a new job description to update really the role that has grown with the district and Dr. Lizotte since 2019. So in my time with you this evening, my hope is to discuss, three big ideas. We're going to first examine the trajectory under the direction of Dr. Jean Lizotte, who's here in this photo, and her tenure in this role. We're going to acknowledge and illustrate how the role scope and responsibilities have grown since 2019, and then discuss the proposed updates to the position description to mirror the current district priorities and encompass all the duties that Dr. Lizotte is primarily doing, but will help us to evolve as we move toward the future. So since its creation in 2019, this position, and specifically Dr. Lizotte, has helped strengthen the district's capacity to build meaningful partnerships, has advanced our district's commitment to well-being for all, and has played a key role in procuring funding for strategic efforts that align with our strategic plan. Some specifics include, the Staff Wellness Advisory Committee, selecting and implementing a new SEL program, helping to support the growth of our CTE and career pathways, as well as establishing PBIS here in our district. And she's really used resources that go beyond our budget and beyond our organization and into our community. Through grants, partnerships and sponsorships, philanthropic giving, and community partnerships, she really has expanded the opportunities that we are able to provide for our students, the way that we support our staff, and really has made a gigantic impact. So just this week, here are a few things that Dr. Lizotte has helped. On June 1st, you can see in community partnerships that the Hype 9 Young Professionals Leadership Program was held at Shrewsbury High School. Karen Aries partnered with Dr. Lizotte to support organizing this second annual networking event. And she also partnered with Karen Chapman in the Quarter 9 Regional Chamber of Commerce to engage our students in small and large group conversations about career and a multitude of life lessons. You'll see under philanthropy that we have some SHS volunteers pictured here. Philanthropy actually supports students to develop real life skills, expand their perspective, and actively shape the community in which we live. And it aligns with our Portrait of a Graduate. And then, of course, that van is always in use every day. So through sponsorships with, for example, Shrewsbury Federal Credit Union, you can see that Dr. Lizotte has worked with, local businesses to procure generous donations, such as the vans that help us in a variety of ways, whether that's internship experiences, supporting philanthropy, and helping our students move between work sites. They really are so impactful. And this is even more impressive. So this highlights Dr. Lazat's financial contributions that she has secured, funds beyond our appropriated budget to support the strategic efforts of our district, aligned with our strategic plan. These funds were secured through the work that she has done individually or with others in the district, such as Kathleen Keohane or Karen Aries. And it's happened through whether that's sponsorships, grants that she has secured, such as the one that she wrote with Karen and Todd Bazidlo, and over time she has secured $2.2 million, which is amazing. And without these funds, it is likely, and honestly pretty sure, that we wouldn't have been able to provide some of the opportunities, programs, supports, materials to our students. And so we are forever indebted to Dr. Lazat for all of her extraordinary work in being sure that she has secured these funds to help us succeed and reach our goals. So as we think toward the future, and since the inception of this role, there have been additional responsibilities that have been added to Dr. Lazat's plate that are not currently written in the job description to the depth in which she is doing them at this point. So the new job description, although it does have some of the areas of focus that remain, there's a deeper description that aligns with the work that is being done. And this was developed through conversation with Dr. Lazat, Mrs. Belcito, and Jamie Millett specifically. And it also includes a deep dive in some of the data that you've heard about tonight, thinking about nursing and the mental health nurse visits, for example, thinking about the increase in mental health needs through Jamie's department and the counseling needs that are in place. And so as a result, these proposed changes really come from those conversations, the data dig, and tonight I want to talk to you about two specifically that are here in yellow, really establishing a deeper data utilization through this role, deeper executive SEL oversight, and being a bit more clear about the work Dr. Lazat has been doing that needs to continue to evolve to support our staff and students' changing needs. And then really anchoring back in again to highlight the area that's in green, which is the community engagement and resource development, because that's something that cannot go away and is pivotal to our organization's health. So continuing to strengthen our social emotional learning framework remains top of mind for this role. As you heard tonight, it is crucial in supporting our students, their mental health, their connection to our school, their connection to our staff, as well as supporting our teachers' well-being. So the increase in responsibility in overseeing Tier 1 and Tier 2 SEL instruction is much like the academic programming we hear about from Mrs. Clowder, the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, and much like academics, social emotional learning needs further development. We think a lot about our academics in that Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 framework, where Tier 1 has the least restrictive supports, and then we grow our supports over time. So right now, Mrs. Millett, who you heard from earlier tonight, she oversees those Tier 3 supports in the highest level of intervention. However, we continue to need to make a more robust support and framework for Tier 1 and Tier 2, which would hopefully decrease the amount of students who would need to access those Tier 3 supports. And this would also provide more collaboration between departments with this individual assistant superintendent working with Ms. Millett on Tier 2 supports. Additionally, it's important that we continue to think about these programs and this framework with a pre-K through 12 lens. We do have the new Wayfinder curricula, which starts with our youngest learners and goes all the way up to our seniors who are graduating. And so that takes executive oversight and vertical alignment to support transitions between schools and to be sure that our curriculum is meeting our students' needs. This will also help us with universal assessments and interventions for students. You heard a lot today about waypoints, for example, or other health, mental health surveys. And we are really looking to have a more systemized data platform to bring all of our social emotional learning and mental health information together and to support the transition of that data over the course of a student's career here in Shrewsbury. This person would also oversee how we support our educators. How do we support them with social emotional learning, with behavioral health in their classroom, and putting the new program into place with Fidelity, very much again like Ms. Clowder. And then partnering again across, platforms, not only just within our organization, but also outside of our organization, thinking about what are the mental health supports and resources that we can continue to build so that we have systems of support that are a wraparound for our students. In addition, connected to social emotional learning, it will be an expanded responsibility of this individual to oversee student Title IX coordination and anti-bullying efforts. This will provide support in compliance, training, and district level support to our families and our school staff. We hear a lot about, and we read a lot about in the research, that social emotional learning in a systematic way within a school system, it does develop students' ability to take others' perspectives, to problem solve, conflict resolution, and as that happens, the overall environment becomes safer for students. It does become more inclusive, and the overall goal is to reduce and prevent bullying, and we have seen in the research that can happen. And so I think as we continue to systemize preventing bullying, it's also important to be sure that we also have robust features in place that when these things are happening, that we can address them in a timely manner and support our leadership team with regular oversight of implementation of anti-bullying measures. The second big addition or more systemized process that we'd like to have in this job description is having this individual create and maintain data-informed system for student well-being. So I talked a little bit about in our social emotional learning programs, we do have formative assessments, summative assessments, and check-ins that we can do for students. However, these take coordination. They take time to analyze at the district level, and I think school leaders are doing a great job at looking at these in their individual school sites. However, it needs more executive oversight in supporting us to think about what are the trends we're seeing across schools, across age and developmental groups, so that we can support our students over time. And, Jamie talked about this a little bit. We have survey information in many different locations. So this person could help us to bring the information together to see really where the return on investment is happening for us and where we're seeing student growth and improvement, and places where we may need to address to have a new goal, a new action step, or consider stopping using a particular practice if it's not providing us with the impact on students that we'd like to see. And I just put a few of the different data that we're using here to show you that these, to paint the picture of a student, it's not just their academics and it's not just their social emotional, it goes all together, including their attendance records. And oftentimes it would be very helpful as we move one student from one school to the next to be sure that we really are encompassing all of who they are as a learner and as a person. And then I just want to solidify again the importance of maintaining the community systems and partnerships, being sure that there really is a specific person who is overseeing the development and the opportunity for our students to access internships, capstones, project-based learning that expands beyond their schools, to continue to develop our alumni network, being sure that we are asking those who have been here to come back and share their knowledge and experience for our students, and continuing to build our staff wellness. Our staff wellness advisory committee is a wealth of knowledge and has certainly helped Dr. Lizotte to put additional actions in place that support our staff well-being as well as our students. And I think that's just a place where we will continue need to put our efforts. And additionally, this is a place where we need to continue to secure funds that go beyond the appropriated budget. Because without those, internships, capstones, and other opportunities may not be as readily available to our students. So in closing, just to summarize that the description, advances a refined focus on partnerships and systems within the community, is data-driven to impact our students and measure outcomes from our initiatives that we put in place connected to social emotional learning, continues to expand resource development, helping us to meet the goals that we've outlined in our strategic plan, and elevates really the need for the executive oversight of our SEL integration to be sure that we're meeting the social emotional needs of our students and hopefully preventing any mental health concerns that may arise for them and supporting them where they need us most. So that's what I have for you tonight, and I'm open to questions and discussion.
Colleagues? Ms. Boucher?
Well, thank you for your presentation. It's nice to see you starting to present in your new role. I'm supportive of this updated version of this position. I think we've been very well served by this position as a district. We were very fortunate to have Dr. Lizotte kind of take the lead on this and shape this for us. And it has evolved even under her leadership. I think looking back kind of on her tenure, the fact that we had her in place when the regulations changed around Assabet was huge. In terms of her being able to pivot and help us kind of navigate what does this look like for us as a district when we don't have access to the vocational programming for our students, and all of the things that she's been able to create and have been really kind of positioned us well, and it's opened up opportunities not just for the students that were accessing the vocational technical, but also more to all students, right? So it's been really, it's been very important. Looking at that slide about the revenue that she's been able to generate, 2.2 million in funds secured, what we would have done without that money, right? And all of the wonderful programming that we've been able to put in place as a result of those funds that she's been able to, find for our district through all kinds of wonderful partnerships that she's developed. I think the thing that I'm most excited about in looking at your proposal for this kind of the new kind of framing of this is looking at somebody that can be sitting at the central office level that can look at data across many different platforms and kind of bring it to bear on, not only wellness, but, chronic absenteeism, like all kinds of different things that we can kind of look at district-wide. And I think it's going to be helpful to us as a committee as we look at the budget for next year, when you're going to be able to bring us, or the person in this role will eventually be able to bring us this data and show us kind of where our investments are working and where maybe we can pivot and move in different directions. And I think it's just so important to reiterate like that SEL and student emotional learning, it's the foundation, right? It's if students are not in a good place socially and emotionally, they're not going to be able to learn. So to be able to kind of put somebody in place at the district level that can kind of oversee the framework and support for that, I think is going to be very valuable. I'm also happy to see that we're going to be able to kind of use this role as a district level student Title IX coordinator as well, because I think that's a place where we need to put some resources and anti-bullying lead. I think that's really important to have somebody at the C-suite level looking at that data for us and being able to address those needs for the district. So again, thank you for bringing this to us, and I'm happy to see how you've kind of shaped it to kind of meet where we are in 2026, 2027 school year. I think it's well thought through. So thank you.
Thank you. And I meant to share on the Title IX student coordinator role that in all the districts close to us and nearby to us, the Title IX student coordinator is typically someone who has had experience in working with students and has an education background. And currently in our district, Kelly Siddiqui, the HR executive director, is playing that role. So Kelly will continue to do Title IX coordination for any staff issues that we have, but this, the Title IX student coordinator will move to the assistant superintendent role. Thank you. Mr. Linsky?
Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate the focus around this position. It has evolved over time, certainly since its inception. I mean, we've seen well-being, SEL, community partnerships that don't happen magically. You need to engage with the public to, get the level of the additional funding that certainly Dr. Lazada has achieved with her staff. The $2.2 million is very significant to the district. And then we've seen the CTE opportunities evolve out of this, whether it was internships, vocational opportunities that then spawned into a CTE coordinator, which has now evolved into a director, right? So it's a lot of great work has come out of this. What I like about the description is we're creating accountability through data, right? With the dashboard that you're proposing, I think that's important, that we always, kind of have that kind of front and center to understand the outcomes of what we're doing in the district. And as you mentioned, the data-informed systems for student well-being, kind of tying it all together, I think is important. I guess one of the questions I had was around the direct reports for this role, right? Because I think I look at the description, it's a big, there's a lot of pieces to this description, the job description. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around the direct reports that would drive some of that work, right? Because I think one of the things that I get a little concerned about is that maybe there's too much there, right? And I'm not the resident expert of any of that. Just when I think about job descriptions, just in my own professional, space, I think about what pieces of this job could divert their attention, from other things, and are there other direct reports that can help drive some of that work?
Right. Yeah. So I think, Jane has been Dr. Lazat has been overseeing the individuals who are in the description currently. I think you heard tonight a little bit about, for example, Kate Perry and the nursing visits. So I think that because this role is partnerships, it does expand across many different roles and different departments. And so Dr. Lazat is engaging with these different communities for different purposes. So they seem to have aligned still with her work, whether that's, working with health and physical education to think about philanthropy, or nursing to think about how are we supporting students with mental health needs, and how can we make sure that our nurses are getting professional development, not only in the medical and nursing practices that they need, but social emotional, because they're using a lot of those skills and repertoire in the nurse's office. So I do think that these individuals remain appropriate to be here. I think that, should we have a new individual on board and this becomes a place where they may feel overwhelmed, or where they may not be able to give it as much time, then we could reconsider, removing some of these individuals from the list. However, Dr. Lazat did feel like this was work that she was doing still and doing well, that felt appropriately and to leave in there, and we're collaborative partners to the work that she's been doing.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I just think again about some of the work around Title IX. I think certainly is needed. We need to kind of fill that space with a point person that can drive that, and best practices around that. I just know sometimes that can become involved, time consuming, right?
Yeah.
And then in terms of that well-being, the dashboard piece of it, would this role be responsible for actually creating that dashboard, or would there be any supports on?
I think we're going to have to think about how it happens. So Jamie Millette and I have been tinkering quite a bit. Okay. And thinking about how could AI support us with this. I also know that there are platforms out there such as Open Architects that we already do have some subscription and engagement with that can help us build out a platform. I think what we really need is someone who has the oversight to be the go-to person who talks with this organization to help us think about how do we filter this data in, what data is it that we need, what might a student profile page look like, who can help that executive oversight to help create it. But I do believe we will likely end up working with someone who has this established rather than doing it on our own. Right now we do have Google Sheets, for example, that Jamie was talking about in varying formats. And there's some benefit there, but again, they don't speak to one another.
Right.
So thinking about, can we use what's already established to upload into a system that can help these really robust data sets talk?
Yeah, I think that's a great point in terms of leveraging AI. I know in the 6 months I've been in a new role, a new job, we've used AI quite a bit to streamline data, right, and to build dashboards.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely be interested to see how that evolves. So, but yeah, curious to hear what my other colleagues have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know your love of data, and this certainly is a data-driven position. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And the 2.2 million that's still up on our screen is really incredible to me. And what I think about also is what we did not spend with having those community partnerships to be able to do the internships and the capstones and things of that nature. So in kind, it's a much higher number in actuality.
Agreed.
What I would personally really like to see is the vocality of something like this number really be put out there, not just to our community partners, but our community stakeholders, being our community members. This amount of money is not insignificant at all, and I definitely see as we come into tougher fiscal seasons in the future, we know that we're going to be up against. I would love to see something like this. I know it's going to continue, but really screamed from the rooftops to our community, whether that's through town meeting, through the superintendent or what have you. But I really would love to see something like this really highlighted, not just for our sake, but for really the community at large.
Yeah, I echo the sentiments. I think thank you very much for the presentation. I think this is very helpful in understanding where we were previously and where we are moving into the future, how we are looking at this position to fill the big shoes that Dr. Lazard left or will be leaving us in. So definitely a great opportunity to look at the data more holistically at a central office level and combine the multiple. So if I'm envisioning something, so all these presentations that we have today will be looking at one set cohesive, comprehensive analysis we'll be able to achieve through this dashboard or through this person's efforts.
I'm hopeful that we'll be able to collaborate across departments with many data sets. I'm thinking about, chronic absenteeism, the information from Jamie and the several surveys they give, the waypoints data from our Tier 1 curriculum. I do think it can all live in one place, and I think we could click on a student and kind of see their profile is what we're all envisioning.
And then who will have the access to this data? Does the
So it would
schools, buildings, class?
So it would be the individuals who work directly with the students that are featured. So, for example, we would treat it much like our CAT data, our STAR data that Amy collects, where the classroom teacher would be able to see their set of students. And if it was a teen teacher, let's say at the middle school, then the team would be able to see the student's data set. Some of these surveys are, anonymized, so that information will not populate. So we would want to keep the information that's confidential and HIPAA protected that way. But if it is available, for example, we have several students who are getting intervention support at Tier 2 or Tier 3. That would also live in their profile. So the art teacher would be able to see this is a student who has these interventions in place and be able to follow along on their plan and their data and support the action as well. But it would be really connected to being sure that the educators who are serving the student, as well as the larger team, whether that's a school counselor and then the school-based principal, and then I'm envisioning the assistant superintendent.
Yes. Yeah. So my I'm looking at two different data sets. One is the STAR data, and which is much more accessible, available, and the other majority of the whatever we hear presentations today is mostly HIPAA regulated data, which comes with more regulations and restricted access, I would imagine. So that would be interesting to see. I hope you already have a plan for that. My other question is, who's doing the anti-bullying? Who's the anti-bullying lead at this current state, at this point?
So we at the district level have professional development on anti-bullying practices and policies, and we review the expectation each year of what, if we are reported to have bullying in our schools, what are the steps in the implementation in our individual buildings. And right now that's from the central office leadership team, Dr. Sawyer, and we talk about it annually.
It's pretty much the superintendent.
I was gonna
And
say.
really, and with all due respect, I think that will be important to have someone who has more focus. I mean, it's been, the superintendent is put together, and I give my executive assistant, Beth McCollum, coordinates collecting data from the building leaders every year for the report we do on bullying at the start of the school year in terms of the previous year's statistics. And, there's sort of an overall yearly training that we do and those types of things. But I think in terms of bandwidth, having this position be responsible for sort of ongoing focus in a proactive way, looking at, what are the latest developments in the field of education on anti-bullying work? Are there new things we should be looking at in terms of approach? Are there new things coming from the department? I would say, we certainly are focused on making sure we're complying with what we need to, but I think this will provide a greater level of resource, and then also in a proactive way, be able to make, and then when new leaders come on board, there'll be a new principal at Coolidge School, to be able to spend the time and focused on that and be a go-to person for new principals, assistant principals, I think will be something that would be very helpful. So I think moving that responsibility, the primary responsibility for that, to this assistant superintendent role is a wise move, in my opinion.
No, thank you. So, as Mr. Wensky mentioned, I'm on the same page with him. I agree, because this looks like the first part of the existing responsibilities looks perfect, I think, right? With it's updated, it's upgraded, and then it's more holistic viewpoint across the district, and then it has its own humongous needs, so for time and resources and energy. Like bringing in 2.2 million is not an easy task. Bringing in partners, job shadowing, career opportunities is not a simple task, right? So there's a lot of already tremendous resource and time requirements from these activities. And then when we go to the expanded responsibilities, I think Title IX and anti-bullying efforts are also a time and resource pulling activities, right? So I'm a little worried about maybe we're putting too much on the plate, and then maybe at some point one or the other will get less focus.
I think, as we have the new Karen Aries position growing, I think that will lessen some of the responsibility connected to career and technical education and the pathways work, because she will be able to continue to shepherd those efforts. I do think the community partnerships is still going to be really important, and of course, working to secure funds beyond the appropriated budget to support our strategic plan. I hear you, and I think it's something we can certainly watch over time. I think each assistant superintendent does have the responsibilities of supporting and overseeing directors and different departments, and I think this also anchors this person in a community and talking regularly with directors. I know Kate Perry, for example, is part of the Student Wellness Advisory Committee, and it's someone that Jane meets with regularly. So I do feel that this is doable, and I do hear you. I really do, and I think that once we start to have more information and the individual in this role, I think we can always reconsider and take that take some responsibilities off that plate.
I totally like one person doing everything. It's also, it's definitely helps us financially and also everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm a little hesitant on especially with the Title IX and anti-bullying lead. Also, a part of the responsibility is a little too stretch from, because it takes a significant amount of time when there's a certain processes and policies need to follow with these type of activities.
Yeah.
So, but you might have thought through this, and then let's see how it resonates with the applicants, and see what the candidate pool you will receive.
And I think in terms of the bullying piece, it really is more like a secondary layer to what's already in place. The bullying prevention and implementation, investigations, written responses to bullying, et cetera, are going to still be completed at the school level. And this is the opportunity to have more oversight with the annual training, to be thinking ahead about, the way we communicate with families, updating forms and things like that over time. I see the bullying compliance being less of a lift than the Title IX coordination. But again, I think it would be really helpful for principals to have that secondary ear, because if families do not agree with an outcome, for example, the next step is to engage with the superintendent. And I think that this could be an additional layer for families to be supported if there is a discrepancy in an outcome. However, I don't personally know at this time the data regarding how many of those cases do move past the school level. So that will be something that we'll look at in a data-informed way over time and make some decisions together.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for definitely the presentation is very helpful in understanding the role and the expanded responsibilities. So good luck with everything as well.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the candidate pool. So
You too.
all the best.
Thank you.
I will add, especially after we've had multiple discussions about this, I'm in support of this position. I think that all of our assistant superintendents have very important jobs, and each of them have different areas that they focus in, and it touches so many parts of the district. I think this one, I agree from the outset when you're looking at all of the responsibilities, it does seem like a lot, and it's sort of all over the place, but it's something that is being done right now anyway. And I think, when I look at this role and what Dr. Lizotte, and thank you for highlighting what she has done to this role, and especially highlighting the $2.2 million. I brought that up at town meeting. And honestly, Nicole, you had said about, really shouting from the rooftops about what this is. When I had said that she had raised $2.2 million, there was kind of like a look of like shock from a lot of people, like, wow, that's a lot of money. I think, we talk about it, but then when you actually see it in front of you, when you see it as this number, they're like, wow, that's a lot of money. Highlighting that, we talked about, having something that, anybody can access, and we can just see almost like a thermometer that you can see the amount going up. I think that's important for the community to see, especially as we go into, potential overrides and things that affect us. I think the community really sees the value that the Shrewsbury Public Schools have, and having a position like this, making those connections, keeping those connections, is really, really important. So I agree. It's a lot of different things, but I think that we've also started that groundwork, that there are certain aspects of this that we don't necessarily have to, I don't want to say spend that much time on, but the framework's already there. So it's just adding on to it. We have Karen Aries, who's done so much with Dr. Lizotte on the CTE. So it's not like we're starting ground up. Like, all of these things aren't starting from ground up fresh. If you were coming into that and you had to build everything at the same time, yeah, that's a lot. But I think for here, it's just refining and adding on. I appreciate the amount of time that you've taken and the thought that you've put into this already before you've even stepped into the superintendent role. And having had, it was clear tonight from Jamie Millett's presentation, you've had those conversations on where can the data help her. And we heard from the nurses too on how can we get the data being better. This is so data driven that we can finally be able to put it into one area so that we can track students through their time in the Shrewsbury Public Schools. I think that I hope that this is something that we can really piece together, and we can have something that you can go to for the social emotional, but also the academic piece, that there's one platform to use. And also, to expanding out and making this a Title IX and the anti-bullying coordinator. I'm glad that you said that, nothing at the building is necessarily going to change, right? We're still going to have, if there are bullying concerns, reported correctly and dealt with in the building. But this puts it an added layer at central office, that little bit of a buffer between superintendent and that, we can do more training. We can do, whatever it is that just, it gives it a little bit more, it takes a little bit out of the building, a little bit of a breather, because those buildings are very busy and they're not just dealing with bullying, they're dealing with social emotional, they're dealing with the academics. There is a lot going on in those buildings. So taking a piece of that out and putting it at the central office, I think is really important. So I'm in favor of this, and it'll be interesting to see who we can have fit in this role, because we want somebody who has as great of relationships with the community, but also has the same kind of like data-driven hat that you do too, to kind of continue to push the district forward. So thank you for working on this. Dr. Sawyer?
I support the superintendent-elect's recommendation.
Okay. Okay, so then I will need a motion that the committee vote to update policy 255, which is a position description of assistant superintendent for community partnerships and well-being, as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion carries forward unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to Mr. Duarte for his computer.
All right, the next item on our agenda was supposed to be a vote on the superintendent's contract. Dr. Ostrander will assume the position of superintendent effective July 1 of 2026. So the school, I'm going to give a little bit of an update, but I am actually going to push the vote until next week. The school committee and Dr. Ostrander have come to a mutual agreement on the terms of her upcoming contract as superintendent. However, we're waiting on a final official document for both the school committee and Dr. Ostrander to review and sign. So as such, I'm going to move the vote to next week's agenda, but I did want to note that we're in the process, and we're excited to have come to this agreement. And I think I can say on behalf of all of us that we're very much looking forward to working with you and watching you grow in your new position. Or we're just going to have to delay voting on you.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. The minutes from the school committee meetings held on April 16th, May 11th, and May 13th, 2026 were sent to us for review. Does anyone have any changes or revisions? No? Okay. Seeing as there are no changes, these can be marked as accepted as distributed. Okay, we do need to go into executive session tonight, so I will need a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of addressing General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant-in requirements. Purpose 7, Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapters 30A, Sections 22FG, for the purpose of reviewing, approving, and/or releasing executive session minutes. B, for the purpose of addressing General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect of the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Purpose 3. C, for the purpose of addressing General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, non-union clerical and support staff and/or administrators. Purpose 2. D, for the purpose of addressing General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements, federal and Massachusetts student record laws. Purpose 7. and E, for the purpose of General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. Personnel complaint and/or open meeting law complaint, purpose 1, where deliberation in an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and return to open session only for the purpose of adjourning for the evening. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This requires a roll call vote. Ms. Torres?
Aye.
Mr. Wensky?
Aye.
Mr. Vallega-Pudi?
Aye.
Ms. Boucher?
Aye.
Myself, Ms. Shreveport, aye. Thank you and good night.